Looks like the sport of slap fighting isn't winning many fans over after a nasty clip from one of its events spread across the internet like wildfire. One contestant was left horribly disfigured. If you haven't already heard about the sport already, the rules are rather simple. Two people slap each other until one person can't do it anymore, either by knockout or by throwing in the towel. In an era where more and more sports around the world are focusing on trying to protect the health and welfare of their players and their brains, one such sport seems to go in the complete opposite direction. Despite all the numerous stories about how damaging and deadly blows to the head can be, what with all the repeated head trauma, slap fighting organizers keep charging on. All of that culminated in the subject of today's video, a gruesome clip from the RXF Slap Fighting Championships in Romania. Social media users were left in disbelief after it went viral. One of the competitors, Sorin Kamza, can be seen getting whacked with an absolutely devastating blow. A slap powerful enough to make any brown parent smile by his rival, Alexandru Gorcica. However, Kamza managed to somehow survive the slap that gave everyone of its Eastern audience PTSD and remained on his feet. But things weren't going well for the contestant. He instantly began tapping the top of his head, informing officials that the hit he'd received from his rival had completely missed his mark. To put it simply, it's against the rules to hit someone on the temple, orbit, nose, ear, or larynx in the sport. However, the only thing that viewers were focusing on in the clip was not about the foul hit, but something a bit more on the nose, or maybe a bit on the side of it. The left side of Kamza's face had been completely deformed. His cheeks had gotten so swollen that it almost looked like another poke would cause them to burst. The fact that it was already bleeding from some areas didn't help with the image either. The barbaric nature of the sport was put on display for the entire world to see. Not even heavyweight UFC fighters have that much disfiguration after going 10 rounds straight.
Lopez at the MMA Factory in Paris as they bring in guys
and got him!
But it seems that Kamza didn't really mind the injury, or was probably too dazed to even notice the pain. He's definitely gonna feel that one in the morning. However, despite the horrific disfigurement, the victim managed to come out on top and $7,800 richer after claiming the championship victory and pocketing the cash reward, which, to be honest, may just be enough to cover his hospital bills. The clip garnered almost 10 million views, and social media users had a field day, calling for the sport to be axed. Even professional athletes and sports commentators voiced their concerns. Al Dawson, the writer for This Is Boxing, said that the whole ordeal was really grim to watch, stating that he felt bad for everyone who was involved in the event, especially the dude getting slapped so hard that he was bleeding all over himself, while trying to keep one side of his face from falling off. Josh Barnett, an MMA fighter, also chimed in, saying that these types of events, which he refused to call a sport, were probably the dumbest thing he'd ever seen, and questioned why people supported them at all.
Nothing I didn't hear was good enough tonight, but it's a good starting point.
Tony Marinaro, a podcast host, also asked for the sport to be banned altogether. Even health experts voiced their opinions on the matter, one of the most important one coming from a neuroscientist fighting to stop CTE.
People will agree with me on this one. I was in shock. I was like,
Chris Nowinski had a few concerns to share. He believes adults could choose to do whatever dangerous jobs they wanted to, but only as long as they understood the risks they were going to take, and that reasonable efforts were made to maintain their well-being.
We call REM disorder behavior. REM behavior disorder, one of the two.
However, he added that taking head hits without any defense was just sad, saying that it should serve as a reminder that the people who are taking the risks are often being exploited by those who don't. Nowinski is a Harvard PhD graduate and also a former wrestler, so his claims had a lot of credibility. He criticized the sport's handling of concussions, and also took issue with another recent clip where a combatant, Chris Kennedy, seemed to show signs of a significant head injury, going into a position known as a fencing posture, explaining that if he had gotten any significant brain injury, he might never be the same again. Nowinski also took a direct dig at both Dana White, the promoter of another slap fighting championship, and TBS, the organization that airs the brutal matches, telling them how they should be ashamed of the way they were exploiting the competitors' life-threatening injuries for profit.
We now are fully certain that traumatic brain injuries lead to new mental health disorders, is increased rate of depression, increased rate of anxiety, increased rate of people self-harm.
I mean, what's next? A sport to see who can survive the most stabbings? Well, White doesn't seem affected by the claims and is going forward with his plans. The UFC boss is launching the Power Slap League. In a recent interview, he had some choice words for the people calling out the sport.
Weekly slap meetings already that are going on at the office, and I don't know. I know that when we announced this, there was a lot of concerns about health and safety with some guys.
White justified his stance by explaining that his promotion would be spending money to ensure that they were two healthy competitors in the ring. He promised to have proper medical attention during and after the fight, and added that these were all the things they needed to educate people on, just like how they needed to educate people on the sport of mixed martial arts. He further added that while slap fighters take 3 to 5 slaps per event, boxers take 300 to 400 punches each fight. When asked about what he thought about the people who were calling for the sport to be axed, he replied, saying that if they didn't enjoy watching it, then they simply shouldn't, and that if they were so disgusted by it, then they should stick to watching something like The Voice. To be fair, even if White pulled back his plans, there are still many other slap promotions that have been in existence for much longer than White's circuit, including the Missouri-based Slap Fight. However, it looks like not everyone is against the concept of slap fighting, especially UFC legend Conor McGregor himself. McGregor tweeted alongside a video from Khamzat's match with the caption, "Absolutely gorgeous technique. Congrats, the new heavyweight champion." However, Notorious only was responding to a clip of Khamzat's opponent landing a hellacious blow, so it's not really clear if he's praising the great technique or Khamzat, who expertly ate the slap and managed to stay in the fight. The former dual-weight UFC champion's newfound respect for slap fighting is timely, especially considering Dana White's Power Slap League debuted recently as well, where about 295,000 people tuned in for the first episode. The debut episode of the competition was supposed to air back on the 11th of January, but it ended up getting delayed by a week after its owner. Dana White got into a slapping scandal of his own. The promoter was caught hitting his wife on camera at a nightclub in Mexico at a New Year's Eve party after a heated exchange between the couple. Although the 53-year-old apologized for his actions,
My wife and I have apologized to each other. We've apologized to our kids, and
he's still facing widespread condemnation. Some people are also calling for him to step down from his position at the UFC. However, it has since been confirmed that White will face no professional consequences, and he also made a regular appearance ahead of the UFC's first event of the year as usual. Well, that's that, I guess. Bathroom slapboxing has evolved into a whole new sporting league of its own, with all the additional scandals as well. Hope to see you guys in the next video.